My friends, the family rosary is something that I am tempted to beg you to consider praying. And the reason I do it is because it's of such intense and beautiful, really supernatural value for your family. And I tell you what, the family is the foundation of the church, and the family is the foundation of society in terms of going from the bottom up. That's how desperately we need to restore family life. Hello and welcome to MCast. This is Dr. Mark Miravalle, and we're talking about the Rosary in our sequence of programs on the Rosary. But as I said, I really ask you to consider to kind of do cardiac surgery on your daily planner and get the family rosary in there. Now, in one sense, I should wait until I give you the reasons why, but this is so strong in my heart because have this picture, my friends. Imagine, close your eyes and imagine your house. You should be able to, imagine what your house looks like after the years of being in it. Now imagine attacks coming on your house. Let's say various little demons or other things that symbolize attacks to you and to your family. And then imagine a rosary surrounding your house and watching so many of those attacks, whether it be the demons or other stresses in your family, other modes of division for your family, bouncing off that rosary. Because, my friends, that's the reality. That's the reality when you pray the family rosary together. Does that mean that you're not going to have any satanic attacks, any temptations, any family difficulties? Of course we are. But so many are repelled by the presence of the family rosary. It's that important. It's a supernatural protection, sanctification for your precious family. You know, my friends, we do so many things for our family when things are bad. The counseling, the special needs of education, all the trips for recreation and soccer and violin lessons and all these things, all of which are good. But what about something preventative and also sanctifying? What about saying, my family is simply too important not to be protected by our Blessed Mother in this most powerful way that Our Lady can. That's the family rosary. Now, we've talked before about the nature of the rosary, the power of the rosary, all the promises Our Lady has given to the rosary. There's also a number of promises given for families who pray the rosary. And one of the greatest promises is the protection and salvation of family members, the return of fallen away family members, the graces of conversion and final conversion for family members. My friends, these are priceless gifts, absolutely priceless. And yet, they're given to us by going back to that daily planner and cutting out 20 minutes a day for family. And let's start there. I don't want to go into all the nature of the rosary. We've talked about that, and if you're looking at this program first, go back to when we talk about the nature, the history, the fruitfulness of the rosary in our previous segments. But let's talk pragmatic. I'm a husband and father of 8 children. I know how difficult it can be when kids are going in every direction, when your spouse may have different plans as well, which all could be legitimate plans. It's hard to get, in our case, 10 people together, at least in the past. We've got a couple of the older ones gone now, but still, it's always a challenge with busy, active families. The busy, active can be a fine part, but the priority has to be set. And, father and mother, do you know what you tell your kids when you say, I don't care how many activities there are, we are making time for the family rosary. It's really more important than our meals. When that is relayed to our kids, they will remember it forever. They will make and understand that mom and dad, in the midst of all their busyness, still make time, no matter what happens, save of an emergency, of course, there's always prudence, but consistently, daily, we come together and pray the rosary. So let's talk about some of the pragmatic elements of that, and then I'm going to talk about why John Paul II, in his beautiful apostolic letter on the rosary, talks about the higher importance of rosary. But let's start pragmatic. And we start there because a lot of times that's where the things break down. We want it, we believe in the family rosary, we just can't get it scheduled. It just doesn't happen. Let me bring forward a couple pragmatic tips in terms of family rosary. Number one is setting time. like everything else important in our lives, if we do not set a time for family rosary, we simply will not pray it. There's too many other good things to get in the way of this great thing. Mother Angelica said to me in a conversation once, she said, you know, the biggest danger to the best thing you're supposed to do are the many good things you could do. And that's true. For good people who are not tempted by rape, murder, and pillage, they're sometimes going to be tempted by doing good things that are not the best things. So, Mom and Dad, there's probably plenty of good things that sometimes keep you from the best thing in terms of making sure that the family rosary happens. You have to set a time. Two of the most classic times for praying the family rosary are number one, immediately after dinner. Before everyone runs in their different directions, you say, no, we're going to pray the family rosary. Number two is right before bed. And a general set time, especially during the week, and the weekends, of course, can alter based on events in terms of when it's prayed. But your Monday to Friday schedule, you want to be pretty set. So giving in a half an hour before bed or establishing right after dinner, those are usually the best times for praying the family rosary. Now, in terms of other pragmatic dimensions, it's so important that our children are present. Some parents have written and said, well, we had a conversion. We were praying the family rosary. We went to a Marian apparition site and we came back and said, all right, kids, we're going to be doing these things and we're going to do a little fasting and we're going to pray the family rosary. And shock and indignation came forward from their faces. And the younger children were able to accept it well enough. It was the adolescents that were difficult. So let's talk some pragmatics about that as well. Now, with the children in general, you want them to feel that it's their rosary as much as possible. What does that mean? It means you let them lead the rosary. You let them lead at least a decade of the rosary. And for some families who've never prayed the rosary before, you might have to start with a decade a night and gradually warm up, trying to be generous, trying to be proactive in getting your family to pray 5 decades a night. But if it takes some time, it takes some time. So let your children lead. Now, if you're praying the 5 decades of the rosary, one very positive thing is that you as the parent, you lead, you announce the mystery, you offer a little meditation, just a few words. Mary said yes to the archangel. Let's make sure we say yes to God. That's the Annunciation. But then ask the children to lead the decade. The Our Father and the Hail Marys and the Glory Be. Typically, especially with the younger children, they love to do this. They will, quote, demand and possess their mystery. With the adolescents, sometime depending on the level of formation that you've already had or lack thereof, you may have to say, look, you just have to be present for the family rosary. Even if you're not able to pray or not willing to pray at this point, and again, Mom and Dad, those are your calls, but I'm just saying, if it's a case where adolescents have never prayed before and you get a lot of reluctance, at least they have the commitment of presence. That means they have to be there. And let Our Lady work on their hearts, on their minds, by listening to the rest of the family pray. So, the first task is setting a time. The second task is involving the kids in it. And we're going to talk about, in our next segment, some other practical means about family rosary, but also some of the beautiful reasons why John Paul says, please have your family do that. Indeed, the family that prays together stays together. More on the family rosary in our next segment. Stay with us. This is Dr. Mark Miravalle saying thank you and God bless from MCast.